Okay. All right. We're ready.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Joy Bailey Bryant, and I'm president of the U.S. Company of Lord Cultural Resources. It's my pleasure to speak to you today about the opportunity for art in community in a time of crisis. I have had the great fortune of working through Lord Cultural Resources on many projects across the globe. These could be as widely variant as a cultural plan for the city of Chicago, or a interpretive planning process for the enslaved burial ground in Harlem, New York. Many of these projects really engage with community. A hallmark of our work is that we understand that nothing can exist in the community without the community coming to the table. During this time of crisis, this time of the pandemic, 2020, that is still going on, the racial and social justice movement that has been going on for many years, but really a bright light was shone upon it, both in the United States and across the globe. This time of crisis has presented an opportunity for art to be a powerful lens through which we see much more clearly both the issues that our communities are confronting, as well as solutions. And today I want to talk to you about two spaces that are really about presenting solutions. They address the issues of their communities through presentation, artist works, through social justice work, through housing, as well as through financial opportunity. The first is a place called Project Row Houses. It's located in the historic Third Ward of Houston, Texas, and is a really joyful place. It is 32 shotgun homes in the historic Third Ward of Houston, where the homes form together a community that provides education, arts experiences, artist housing, residential housing, really so many things, now Financial Opportunity Center, so many things that are needed to form community. When asked the question of how do we address the social ills that are happening and had been happening in the historic Third Ward for many, many years, 7 artists gathered together to create Project Row Houses. And when they brought these historic shotgun homes, the architecture of which was immortalized or has been immortalized in many images, but especially Sanford Bigger's beautiful portraits of life in these shotgun homes. And just for those of you all that might not know what a shotgun home is, it's a colloquialism because the doors of the home, it's a very, very long space, not large homes, but from the front door to the back door, it's a total line sight. And many of these shotgun homes have 1 or 2, at the most 3 rooms. These are small spaces, and they form, though, the home and community for many people as they were moving out of enslavement and into freedmen lives. And these were prideful places because these were places that were people who formerly did not have possessions, now this could be their own homes. Over time, these homes became dilapidated, and 7 artists in 1993 gathered together to understand how they might be able to address the social ills of their community. And they gathered together these homes together and to create a community where they had spaces for artists to create and to show. They had spaces for young mothers who were artists to work and to live and to show. They had spaces for residential members of the community who were being forced out of their homes because of rents going up, just really into the strata. And so these artists came together, convinced their friends to contribute to and many foundations and philanthropic efforts. And since 1993, Project Row Houses, now known as PRH, has become a force. It was named as one of America's treasures by the Ford Foundation in 2020. And it has become a real force for gathering. It's a safe space. And it is also a space where people know that they will find solutions. They may not find big picture solutions, but they definitely find a place and a person who will listen and can provide services. So in addition to being an artist space, it's also a social service place. So Project Row Houses, which you'll see much more about in the video coming up, is a place that we know has really owned its place, its place as an artist space that is of the Third Ward community. It is not just in the Third Ward community. And the difference is that this is a place that is run by people who look the same as the communities that they serve. It is run by people who understand the experiences of the community. It's also frequented and used by the community. It's a space that tourists feel welcome in. So it is not an exclusionary space. It is a space that has been able to bridge many gaps with the communities across Houston from wards 3, 4, and 5. These are historic wards in the city of Houston. One of the things that the Project Row Houses has really been able to do is to catalyze the energy of the desire for financial opportunity in its community. It will be opening in the coming days, weeks, a financial opportunity center, which will provide creative financial coaching. So that doesn't mean creative financing. That means creative ways to work with artists, to work with community, to work with different businesses, entrepreneurs, to help them to better plan their and realize the financial opportunities that are coming online in the city of Houston. Something that we saw happen across the world during the pandemic and during the racial justice movement was that we saw this amazing shift between and understanding between what was happening in communities of color and in other communities. So in communities of color, when people were the COVID pandemic was very devastating. Immediately, people began to suffer and die at larger numbers than were seen in other communities that were majority white communities. And so in these communities of color, of which, you know, I experienced many unfortunate losses. And we saw that in places like Project Row Houses, where George Floyd was born. So you have that convergence now of the racial and social justice movement, right when, at this time when the pandemic is occurring, Project Row Houses saw in its community that people were not able to pay their rent. People were not able to feed their families. And so, and then a triple threat in Houston was that there was a storm that prevented power, that stopped the power from in Houston. And so many of the community was without power. So Project Row Houses was a constant space of food distribution, a constant space of power generators, giving away generators, or allowing people to rent generators for free. And they would have to bring them back, but, you know, providing those opportunities. So this understanding that we are a space for art and we are a space for community, and you come into this space and you experience art and you will receive service. Project Row Houses has its classic rounds, and now they're in round 52. And rounds are artist spaces. Each of the shotgun homes are given to an artist, and they have create experiences throughout the community that really show where they are, where the world is, what is happening in the world. This is another way that PRH is of the community, not just in the community. So Project Row Houses is a place that we definitely understand as being a space that is looking to recognize, looking to make sure people understand that art should always be and can never be separated from people. It's not just about form and line, it's about people and blood. And Project Row Houses embodies that. Another place that I want to also bring to the fore and talk a little bit about is the Heidelberg Project. The Heidelberg Project is the work of the artist Tyree Guyton. In the 1980s, Tyree observed that many of the homes in the formerly beautiful middle-class suburb along Heidelberg Street in Detroit, Michigan, were becoming overtaken by the drug epidemic of the 1980s, the crack epidemic. And Tyree started to bring attention to these homes, the dilapidated state of these homes, and the fact that the city and many people just were not caring about not just the homes, but the space, the lives of the people who were living in this area. So he started to paint the houses. He painted them with large dots. There was one house called Dotty Waddy, just big, large polka dots, if you will, on the houses. Some people liked it and some people didn't, but one thing they did was notice. One of the homes, he took just all kinds of discarded remnants, not trash, but discarded. So if you think about old computers, from the long times ago, printers, all of these different objects, he compiled all of these into one place, just to really show we throw away so many things. And sometimes right here at Heidelberg Street, you could see that there was evidence that people were being thrown away. And that was really well communicated in this artwork that Tyree Guyton was doing. And one of the things about the Heidelberg Project is that it harkens not just back to the 1980s when the street became dilapidated, but really going further back to the industrialized era, the time when Detroit was a city on the go, when the factories were moving, people were moving to Detroit. And in my family, you know, we always said Detroit has streets paved with gold because the opportunities were so strong. As you fast forward from that heyday, if you will, of the early 1900s and move forward to the 1980s, you see this post-industrial time when in reality, you know, the factories were shutting down, moving into the 90s, when we were moving away from human labor more into automated labor. We were moving even further from that, factories not being on, or materials not being built in the United States and being built in other places. And what that did for some of our cities and to some of the people living in the cities. And what's important here is you think about, it's actually not about industry moving outside of the United States. Progress will allow for industry to move around and move about. It's really where is that moving to? And I don't mean location wise, I mean thought. Because what really was growing, what is growing, is that intellectual energy that we have growing, the maker energy that we have growing. And so when people often talk about, well, it's because industry has moved to another location, we really have to advance our thinking to another level so that we don't just think of jobs being located in one place. The thing about the pandemic is that we see that we can do our work from anywhere. How do we make that a universal opportunity, no matter your socioeconomic class, no matter your race? And I think about that with the Heidelberg Project, because as we move from this industrial era into the tech era, and we're just moving and moving and moving, we're losing people. And the artist Tyree Guyton's point is that we cannot discard people. And we see that so clearly in the work that Tyree is doing at the Heidelberg Project. It has gone very far. It has gone so much further that Tyree and Janine Whitfield, the executive director of the Heidelberg Project, have actually taken the work beyond Tyree Guyton and created a whole organization that has now grown to acquire property all up and down Heidelberg Street and is building a neighborhood of artists and industry for women especially, and artists of color. So that is a great result of this emphasis and intersection of art and community. So without further ado, I look forward to seeing these videos and to you seeing these videos and experiencing what I have described. Thank you.